I think the difference between America and the rest of the world is the rest of the world, I think, sees very clearly that we are in a totalitarian regime. Now that's what's happening. This is authoritarianism. That is what is happening. I feel like I
Yes.
keep seeing people be like, oh, fascism is upon us. We're dissenting. It's happening. It's like, it's gonna, you know what I mean? We're on the verge. We're in the stages. I'm like, no, we're there, baby. We have
We're
lost.
here.
I cannot, like, to me, I applaud so much the people who are still reporting and keeping and like using their platforms and doing their media and doing what you're doing to tell everybody what's happening, because I cannot keep up. I cannot keep
Mm.
up with the sheer volume of things that are being like not even dismantled, because dismantled makes you think that something is being come down brick by brick, like this
Right.
is a full just demolition, you know what I mean? That's what's happening
Yes.
at warp speed. You're watching, you're it's the problem is people take for granted that everything that's happened in their life, every right, every freedom, every privilege has been won, has been fought for, and there's something there, whether or not you're aware of it, there is something there that
Mm.
allows you to have that right. And now people are seeing things they never thought about, policies they never knew about, things that were in place to allow them to live the lives that they are living, gone overnight. And I'm pretty much at a place of like I don't really know what to say to people, because people don't want to hear I told you so. And but I'm
Right.
like, I couldn't possibly understand what I could tell you other than I told you so. And
And
people
I'm a
didn't want
I
to hear
told you
it.
so kind of sister. You gonna hear it from me. Like I'm petty. Like you gonna hear I told you so regularly. Like 'cause I
Right.
did.
I'm like, they people told us, massive amounts of people. It isn't just, it's not just that we had a significant amount of people that want a white supremacist in place. They want a white America. They want this, that they voted for this. There are a significant amount of people who told you it didn't matter. I'm not gonna vote.
Right.
It's all the same. It's yada yada yada. And
Right.
they were loud and arrogant and nasty all election season. There were a million people who told you, and they will still tell you, even as this is happening, they will try to convince you that things were already like this, or that somehow this
Mm.
black woman, this far more educated, qualified black woman she was the awful candidate. It's not that Donald Trump won. It's that she lost. She was so bad. They're still talking all of this stupid foolishness. So I don't really know how to talk to these people. I don't know what to say other than I'm really practicing if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Because I'm like, y'all don't want to hear from me. Because I don't know what to tell you other than I told you this was going
Mm.
to happen, and you kicked everybody's back in who tried to tell you different and avoid these outcomes for the last 2 years. So I'm just my hands are shrugged. I'm with the rest of the world, and I'm just like, look at this, and
Mm.
we're all gonna suffer. Everyone suffers. It's not
Listen.
just the people who voted for it. It's not just the people who didn't care. It's everybody. America is a world superpower. America decides to go the way of authoritarianism. The whole world feels those effects. That reverberates off
Right.
everybody. So we're up Shit's Creek without a paddle, Lurie. I that's what I feel.
Listen, one of the challenges that I'm really wrestling with is the apparent finality of some of these things. Like we've got people who are being abducted and sent to slave labor camps in El Salvador. And I hate when people say that they've been deported. You are deported back to your nation state. You get
Right.
deported back to the nation that you came from. When you are abducted off the street and held and then transported to a nation you ain't got no connection to, that is
In a
kidnapping. That
prison.
is slave trafficking. And
Right.
so but the reality is right now they're doing, I saw somebody who said this online. They're like, we have videos of these people who have been quote unquote affiliated with gangs who are now in El Salvador. You got 4K, 5K video of these people, and yet you got this administration saying, I don't know, we can't get them back. It was a mistake, my bad, we can't get them back. And I'm like, I'm so grateful that like people in my family who were not citizens now have their citizenship. But quite frankly, I'm also concerned at this effort at denaturalization that we're also seeing them talk about. When it comes to people in this country recognizing what it means to live in authority, in an authoritism in authoritism and in a fascist regime, I feel like the American brain short circuits before it can make sense of what that looks like and what it means. And I remember years ago saying that it is really weird to me that Americans are the only people on the planet, largely, who have not really had to consider, well, I guess Canada too in some ways, but largely the West. People in the West, and particularly in America, have never had to consider what it might mean to have to use a go bag, not just to have one because you think it's a natural disaster, but to have to use it to keep your family safe, to have to pick up your babies and run. Whereas the majority of the melanated rest of the world, that is an ever-present thing. I have a friend from Nigeria, and she was like, she recently became a citizen, and she's like, she was in Nigeria since she was 14. And she says, this feels like when I was a kid in Nigeria. You would go to school, hear some gunshots, hurry up and go home and find out that there had been a coup and somebody else was in power. And you just stayed low. You waited until you figured out what the new regime wanted, and that was your new government. I have a friend from Suriname who was like, listen, Lurie, I'm leaving. I'm going to Kenya. She's going to be all up and down the east coast of Africa. She's like, I got some things to do. And America, y'all are about to be in a dictatorship. And I know you don't know what that means. But when I was, again, she was a young girl. She went to school. There were gunshots. She came home. They were in a dictatorship. And that dictatorship lasted for 40 years. So I feel as though Americans are getting a flash introduction into what coup d'etats look like, into what insurrections that are successful look like. And I don't know that the American brain has the wiring necessary to be able to navigate that very well.
They don't, and I think I have I know it's an incredibly unpopular opinion, but I know everybody has been very angry at like the lack of resistance they're getting from Democrats and the politicians, right? Which I don't think should surprise them. I've said before, you should have. I believe in a weak vote for your weakest adversary. People are who create change. People are who do all that work, and the government is a force that you have to fight against. So it always makes sense to vote for your weakest adversary, which is why I always recognize the Democrats as weak. That's why I said vote for them. Vote for your weakest adversary as opposed to this very strong fascist regime. But people didn't want to hear that. But I don't know how you didn't vote for your weakest adversary. Now you expect that same weak party to be your champions. But I say this. What America has shown me in the last several years, not more than that, but really distinctly in the last maybe 8 years or like however long we've been dealing with Donald Trump, is that Americans make conflations. They flatten things. The presence of some aspects of fascism, they think that makes that now we can make the overarching argument that we already have fascism and nothing can get worse. Everything is already here. If they can point to something in a history book, they make the overarching argument that those are the times that we are living in, and they don't believe it. And anytime anybody comes out to help them to mediate, you know what I mean, the results of some harmful conclusion, they just use that as evidence that it was never really a problem. And that's what I've seen the entire time we've gotten Donald Trump. Is like every time Donald Trump is terrible, anytime anybody fights back, that's used as justification to pretend shit wasn't as bad as it was. And I say that to say, Americans shown me for Donald Trump and the Republicans to make it as clear as day. They put it in writing that they were going to dismantle every aspect of this democracy, that everything is going to go from bad to 10 times worse. And people were still trying to tell, it's not that. I don't think it's going to be that. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be that. That has shown me that some of you, like, you know what they say in the Bahamas? Like, if you don't listen, you can feel. Like, sometimes, like, you have to feel. And I feel like there's some level, and I hate it because I'm an immigrant. So I feel like I feel it worse and I feel it first. But I've always felt it. I've always felt it at the expense of what Americans are going to do. And I'm going to feel it regardless. I said it to say that some level of Americans need to feel, I think. Like, I think they've shown me that if someone came and just mitigated all of the consequences of what Donald Trump is doing, they would use that to say that he wasn't doing shit that was that bad in the first place. And they would turn right back around and elect him or elect someone like him, because that's what happens. Every time someone makes it easier on them, they think that means the danger wasn't real. So I think some people got to feel the danger. They have to see it's real.
Wow. Which means we're in for some tough times, because if you don't listen, you're going to feel. And if you dig a hole for me, dig one for you. And we're in a situation right now where we are tripping and stumbling and bumbling into a whole lot of holes because a lot of these folks thought this pain was coming. They just thought it was coming to somebody else. Olayemi, did I say it right?
Perfect.
All right. Olayemi, I'm always grateful for you giving us some of your time. And also, you and anybody else who's out there, just know that we are hiring attorneys at the Center for Law and Social Justice. Olayemi, I'm going to send you some information. You can spread it around your networks, because we need activists and organizers such as yourself. So those of you in the listening audience, we are seeking organizing minded and advocate minded attorneys to join our team. I just needed to say that because I have you here. You're an attorney, and it just 2 and 2 came together for me to make 4. What is the best way way for people to follow you, connect with you, support you? What's the best way for them to reach out to get more of the goodness that you give to the world?
The best way is to follow my YouTube channels. My main channel is Olurinati, but I also have a whole Olurinati verse. So you could follow Olurinati Politics. I will, if you follow Olurinati Politics, I will be interviewing some of the mayoral candidates, Zoran, Brad, and several others this month, and putting out a report as to how we should go about this election. So follow Olurinati Politics, follow Olay and Friends, follow Olurinati Pop, the whole verse, and you can follow me on social media at Miss Olurin, MSOLURIN. But you should follow me on YouTube first. That's where I really be.